Hi, I'm here with Alison Kelly, one of the 11 cast members of RIG, a co-production of the Arts and Culture Centre and Rising Tide Theatre. Hi, Alison.
Hi.
Can you tell us what roles you're playing in RIG?
In RIG, I'm playing two roles. The first one that I'm on stage as is Wanda Frampton. She was a bartender during the time of the Ocean Ranger disaster. And the second character I'm playing is called Tracy, and she was the daughter of a man who was also killed.
So RIG is based on Mike Heffernan's book, RIG, An Oral History of the Ocean Ranger Disaster. This piece can be considered verbatim theatre, I guess. And have you ever done a piece of this nature before? And can you talk about, no. Can you talk about how it differs from a regular script?
Yeah, actually I've never done any type of theatre like this. It was the first time I'd ever heard the term, Joan said it herself, docudrama, which is kind of exactly what you just stated, that the retelling of specific words. So most times when you're acting, you're imagining the character being alive, you know, and you put them, you put yourself kind of in their shoes and how you would act. But in this situation, it's different. It's almost more difficult because you know the words came from someone who is not only still alive, or not necessarily still alive, but was alive. In my two cases, I believe both those women are still alive, and did go through that experience, and were speaking from a point of vulnerability, and also could be in the audience, and that's pretty intimidating. And a lot of times, you are playing a character that did exist. That's very possible, but it's more fiction. It's been invented, and it's taken out of context, or you know, a variety of different things like that. Whereas this is very specific to a possibly the most life-changing event in this person's life. So it's scary in a way because you don't want to step on any toes or go somewhere and then have the person or people who knew them, you know, they were nothing like that. That's the fear. But it is also interesting because it's the event is given to you and all the circumstances. The given circumstances is something that actors often look for when they're doing text analysis in a script. But in this case, the given circumstances are there, and it's your job to research them. And that has been, it's been interesting, obviously, but rough over the past few weeks. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. So not only are you one of 11 cast members, but you, I think, are also one of the youngest cast members?
Yeah.
The Ocean Ranger disaster happened before you were even born. So can you talk a bit about what it's like to work on this production without having the memories of that sad day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I knew that you know, it's in the back of your mind when you get cast when I got cast in the play. Okay, I'm one of, I think, 3, maybe 4 people, I believe, I could be wrong, I think it's 4 though, that weren't alive when that happened, and it didn't occur to me that it would affect me so much. And sitting around the table with the rest of the cast members who have distinct memories of that day, and in some cases knew those people or knew people who knew those people, St. John's being not a huge city, it made me feel almost, this sounds, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but not worthy of being in the play. And because it's so far, I mean, really, I am imagining what I have never had to deal with that type of loss, and not personally, but just in terms of community. That's a huge loss to the community and to the province. And the effect that must have had is, I'm not sure that I can understand it as well as someone who did have to, who remembers that day and saw those people. So yeah, it suddenly occurred to me when I was reading the specific chapters in Mike Heffernan's book that, you know, wow, I don't know. I don't know this feeling or this sense of loss. But in that case too, I think it's a very good not. I think it's good, and it was a good choice to put young people in the show because, not just I'm learning, but all my friends are learning about this particular incident, and it'll bring a group of younger people to come see the show, which is, that's I think the purpose of the show is it's a commemoration, and that's. It's important for everybody to know that. I mean, it's kind of, to me, disappointing that we didn't learn that in school. I don't know that maybe other people did learn it, but I didn't learn it growing up. I had no idea until I saw the show that Rising Tide did 2 years back. I had no idea. I didn't know. No one had ever, and that shouldn't happen. It should be not forgotten.
Right. Have you learned anything about the events leading up to or after the tragedy that you were unaware of?
Yeah,
I guess
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. I learned so much about it, and it kind of consumes you for. I mean, particularly the weeks that you're rehearsing and doing the show, but hopefully that the hope is that you don't forget about that kind of thing because that's what leads to it happening again. But yeah, I mean, reading the book and like learning about the conditions and that they lived in and the fear that they must have had. I didn't know any of those kind of things, and it's been really, really eye-opening in terms of the loss that Newfoundlanders have endured. Not just the past, not just 3 decades ago, but centuries and centuries. It's been, the ocean has never been our friend.
Right. Yeah. You kind of talked a bit about this as well, but the play recounts such a difficult time, and as an actor, what's it like going to such a dark place every day in rehearsals?
Particularly one sentence that sticks out in my mind, it actually isn't in the play, because the play is made up of several of bits taken from personal excerpts of chapters in Mike's book. And there's one sentence that one of my characters says, and I mean, I want to say characters, but she was a real person, Wanda Frampton. She said she would find herself, because a lot of them became her friends throughout the time that she was bartending at a place that they stayed at before they went out on the rig. And she made very close friends with a lot of them. And so the loss was tremendous for her because she knew all of them. And she said she found herself often imagining how frightening their last few moments must have been, and not knowing were they going to get through it. And that has like stuck with me because, I mean, my friends are the age that those guys were, and they just weren't ready. And you can imagine putting yourself in their position, or you can try the best you can. The waves were 110 feet, and the wind, and so that's been really, I don't know. It's scary to not just put yourself in the shoes of somebody who had to feel the loss and was left behind, but putting yourself or trying your best to imagine the helplessness that those 84 men must have felt. That's been it's been rough, I mean, the rehearsal room is a happy place, but you can sense the solemnity that takes over, when a certain line is said and it hits all of us.
Right.
And that's been really interesting and really kind of it knits us close together.
Right. And I guess many of the cast members, you mentioned there's 4 or 5 who can't remember, but many of the people were alive when the Ocean Ranger disaster happened. So have they been sharing their memories with you, with the younger cast members, and how is that helpful in terms of getting into your character, I guess?
Yeah, that's also a good question. It's weird. For example, one of the cast members, Larry Berry, remember him saying he was 14 or something, so he wasn't, I guess it's the same age that I was when 9/11 happened. So those memories, and as you get older, become more foggy, and you kind of remember not the feeling of hurt or just that something big is happening in your community, and however big that community is, like whether it's communal or provincial or nationwide. But so for him, I think that it was more just like, it was almost just an event, a really important event that you don't quite understand at the time, but you know that your parents are very solemn about something.
Right.
Whereas Andy and Charlie, actually, I believe that Andy Jones and Charlie Tomlinson might have been doing a play at the time, or around that time, and they were young. I mean, I guess they were in their 20s, and they could have been those guys.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been interesting to hear their point of view, for sure.
Right. So what do you think the biggest thing you'll take away from working on this production, both professionally and personally?
I mean, it's been very informative, and it places a sense of the importance of Newfoundland history in your for all of us. And as an actor, we do have the opportunity to research things that have happened that you just hope will never be forgotten. But I fear that if I wasn't an actor, when would this have become important to me? So that's been a kind of, I don't know, just not exactly life changing, but it brings history to your front door. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That this wasn't 100 years ago, and that's something that's really, I mean, this could happen now. It's like, it wasn't, it shouldn't have happened, and it wasn't, my parents were together when it happened, so I was close to coming to being here, and so it makes it so real.
Right. Yeah. And so I guess one last thing, why do you think people should come see this play, even though you've kind of went through it, but if you had one message?
I guess, kind of like I said, it's just, it's not a regular play, because there's, in terms of what you would think of as a play, it's where you would believe that there would be a lot of dialogue, and we don't exchange much to each other, and I believe that what we will create and why people should come is that it's a piece that needs the audience, because we are going to tell you, and I think the way that the audience sees it will directly reflect how we tell it, and it's just a piece that it's a different type of theater that needs, it just needs an audience, and we need audience to be there, and the audience will feel that from us. Their sense of it being, will be one person. Like, we will give and take with the audience.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, bye.